Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. Today is the episode 9 of Open Source Cafe, and today we have somebody really special with us. So let me introduce you to William. So William, right now, I mean, he has been in the industry for a long time, and this year he would be doing GSoC with the GNU organization. And aside from that, he holds a bachelor's in physics from University of Indonesia and a master's in physics from University of Tennessee. And other than that, he has a lot of interest in high performance computing, analysis, accelerated computing, and GPUs, graphic processing units. So William, like, would you like to introduce yourself to to the organized people and a bit about your organization as well?
Sure. So this is a huge difference from the other sessions, the other series in the podcast, because
Yeah,
I think I'm the first international
yeah, you're the first international,
GSoC
exactly.
contributor to be featured today. So I submitted a proposal for the GCC GNU Compiler Collection organization, which is arguably one of the oldest and the biggest
Oldest.
open source projects in existence. It was started by Richard Stallman, if you know him,
Yep,
uh,
yes.
the same guy who created the Free Software Foundation. So it's
Okay.
huge. And if
Yeah.
you buy a new computer and install Linux on it, most
Hmm.
likely you have GCC as the default compiler.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a very
It's
influential
really huge
project, and
organization.
I'm really
Yep.
grateful to make it in. And I was honestly surprised when I saw the announcement.
Okay, okay. So that's like good to know. Like you weren't expecting, and then you were surprised. Like GCC, I've been hearing the name about it since I started my computer science. Like when I installed, when we were learning C++, that's when we first came to know about it. We installed the compiler, though it was a tedious task installing C++, because it's quite tedious. You have to download sources from here and there, and then some VS Code extensions, and plug all the things to make it work. But overall, it is a huge project, and it's going for such a long time. I think how many years is that it has been going,
I think it
estimated?
started in the late 80s or early 80s,
Yeah.
something like that.
Okay.
So older than me, even older than all of us in
Yeah.
the team here.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
awesome to contribute, to
Yeah.
be able to
Yeah.
contribute to that kind of project.
Exactly. So it's, I mean, like the organization I'm contributing to, it started in back in 2000. So even that's older than me. Like these organizations have been going for such a long time, and they're still very active, and they are being continuously developed. So it's a engineering marvel to see that happen.
That's
So
the
without
beauty of
further,
open source.
open
Yes,
source, yeah,
I
exactly,
trust that. That's
exactly.
the beauty of open source. Everybody can contribute.
Yeah, exactly. So like we are talking about open source right now. So like everybody has a special connection with open source, and everybody feels like how open source works. And if somebody very a beginner was coming in front of you, so how would you explain to him like what is open source? Like you can tell that the software, the code is available online. So what would be your personal definition of what's open source?
So open source is any software where you can get the source file that is the original programming code, so you can uh, use it freely. So there is a distinction between free as in speech and free as in beer. One has to do with the cost. One has to do with the freedom of speech, like what you want
Yeah.
to do with it. So open source is sometimes called FOSS, which is both free as in speech and free as in beer.
Yeah.
Free
Yeah.
and open source software. So both free in gratis as in the cost, and free
Yeah.
to modify, free to contribute
Exactly.
back.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it depends. Open source is basically a movement where
Mm-hmm.
it started against the big companies, honestly.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you have to dig into the history. Before Linux, there was
Mhm.
this
Mhm.
operating system called Unix,
Yeah,
UNIX.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So
Exactly.
there was a period in history called the Unix Wars, which is a
Mm.
copyright battle between
Okay.
AT&T or Bell Labs at that time
Yeah.
and Berkeley Lab in California, because who holds the copyright of the code is being disputed.
Yeah.
So
So then they.
it's like that kind of things that led to the open source movement. So people
Mhm.
now don't want to rely on commercial code anymore, but they
Yeah.
want to produce their own code, and they let everybody to freely contribute to that code.
Exactly. So like there's an organization called Force Asia also. Have you heard about Force Asia? So like it's for like Asia, it governs Asia sector, but there are a lot of organizations like it. So
Yeah,
for me, yeah, for me, open source would be like it's something that we have been using it for so long, and as a developer, I think it's a responsibility that we contribute back to it in some way because we are using it for free. We don't know who's maintaining it, who's building it. So I think it's a responsibility, to contribute to open source and make newcomers aware about it so that they can also pay back to the community. Yeah.
that's
So
correct.
exactly,
That's the beauty of open source and the strength of open source, the
exactly,
community
exactly.
behind it,
Yeah, exactly.
the
That's it. That's
people that's
Yeah,
behind it.
exactly, exactly. That's what made open source so strong, that it's so reliable. People are maintaining it, and anybody can do it. It's not that, oh no, you have to be hired by that company to make a pull request in an open source organization. If your code is good, your changes are adequate, and this is what they're asking for, then they have no problem. There's no discrimination of any sort which might happen in any
Exactly.
private company.
Just
Exactly.
make sure you be nice to people. Don't be
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that guy last weekend who
Yeah.
notified
For
400,000 people
yeah.
in Epic Games trying to
Yeah.
push his pull request. And
Yeah.
it honestly
That
is
too
not
bad.
very good code. And people meme about it, which is kind of sad for him.
Yeah.
And he ultimately apologized on Twitter, but the damage has been done.
Yeah, exactly. 400K people have been notified Epic
Yeah,
Games. Like
it's
shocked, like
it's
what's
just
happening. So, so I mean, like this is what happens. When a beginner is misguided in open source. So that shouldn't be done. Because when a beginner, he doesn't know what to do, where to contact. Because when I was starting that, they said me that go on to the IRC channel. I did not know what's the full form of IRC. So how would I go on an IRC channel? So beginners have to be guided properly. Then they can really push to the organizations, and they can really show their competency. So
speaking
let's
of IRC. IRC is an
Mhm.
ancient technology that predates the internet, I think, or maybe developed
Okay.
around the same time when the internet was like Web 1.0.
Oh yeah.
Remember those ugly websites with like frames that you have to
uh,
click here and there? I don't know if you remember
I mean,
what
I was
happened
not
to.
alive at one at that
Yeah,
time. Most
yeah, probably
probably.
not yet. There was
Yeah.
MySpace, there was Friendster. Those two
Mhm.
existed before Facebook. It was an
Mhm.
interesting time in history. So,
Mhm. Exactly.
but let's get back on track. Let me share
Yeah.
my screen and
Yeah. Exactly.
discuss what my project is all about with
Okay.
GCC.
Let's go. Let's go this way.
So, let me share screen.
Yeah. So I'll add it to the stream. So
So my project is specifically targeted toward the Fortran compiler in
mhm.
GCC. Fortran is a really old language. It
Mhm.
is one of the first programming languages in existence. It was created by John Backus at IBM in 1957.
Oh, that's really
Yes, imagine
that's
that.
yeah.
It's older probably than your parents,
Yeah,
even.
my father wasn't probably born at that time. Yeah.
So I have two excellent mentors,
Mhm.
Thomas Schwinger and Tobias Burness,
Okay.
and they are really big shot figures in the community. They are the people who approve the pull request. They are the
Mhm.
ones who are the most active in submitting patches, things like
Mhm.
that. And this is a project about parallel programming. So the
Okay.
do concurrent is a special construct in Fortran that's recently added in Fortran 2008 standard. And
Okay.
the compilers in Fortran are still catching up. So
Mhm.
most compilers implement only the 9095 standard, the Fortran
Okay.
1990 and Fortran 1995 standard, and some Fortran 2003. They are still catching up even on Fortran 2008. What this
Okay.
project goes even further to add support for Fortran 2018
CT. Mhm.
and Fortran. Here it says 2020X, but I think the language
Experience.
committee is voting on it, so it will be called officially Fortran 2023. So it will be launched
Oh.
next year if nothing happens, nothing bad happens. So the first two parts is adding support in the parser, which is the part of the compiler that reads your code
Yeah,
and
exactly.
generates an abstract syntax tree or AST out of
AST.
it.
Yep.
And then the third one is the one that gets me excited, which is implementing the actual parallelization on both
Mm.
multi-core CPU. So your laptops,
Yeah.
those all.
i8, i7, AMD, Ryzen, and those sort of things.
Hello.
So yeah, yeah. Now you're now audible. There was slight lag in between, like your video froze.
Yeah, I think
So
it's latency between the US and
yeah,
India
yeah,
probably.
no, no worries.
But
We
yeah,
bear that. Don't
so
worry.
the third part is the one that's exciting to me, but we have
Hmm.
to finish the first and second part first. The third
Yeah.
part is to implement the parallelization of the do concurrent construct, and I will explain later why it is special and why it
Okay.
exists only in Fortran. So the most interesting part is using GPU devices. So most
Okay.
people only know GPUs are used for gaming.
Gaming. Yeah.
No, it's
No.
actually what powers the world's fastest supercomputers. Most of the
Okay.
computing power on the supercomputers right now actually comes from the GPU devices,
Mm.
which is an interesting subject in itself. So,
Yeah, I think.
what is Fortran? Do you want to say something, Viom?
Nah, like I was adding, like Julia also supports, like I think GPU native code. I think
Yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah.
So
So
Julia is
that's a big thing. Yeah.
another language
That's a
that's
big.
rising in the science
Yeah.
community
Yeah.
because it's
Exactly.
developed from
Exactly.
the ground up by MIT people.
Mm. Yeah. That's those four individuals. I don't remember their name right now. Those are they
Yes.
have developed it. Yeah.
So, believe it or not, after
Mhm.
what 70, 80 years since 1957, Fortran is still
Okay.
alive and kicking. Most computer scientists that don't know this will cringe at you because they think
Okay.
Fortran is as ancient as the dinosaur. But Fortran is still alive, and it actually has an official website now in this modern
Uh-huh.
age. So I will
Uh-huh.
post this. How do I post a comment?
You can post a comment on the comments tab that's on the right hand side.
Maybe you can relay it, Vyom, on the comments.
Yeah, I'll add it. I'll add it.
So that's the official website for the Fortran language,
Yeah.
fortran-lang.org. It is a high-performance parallel programming language. It's one of the earliest programming languages because they have to beat assemblers.
Yeah.
Before Fortran existed, people are you familiar with assembly language? The
Yeah,
actual machine instructions of the
yeah.
computer. That's the
Uh-huh.
way people program before Fortran existed. So they have to convince people that a high level language is better than programming directly in
Assembly is
assembly.
such a painful language. Like I have coded a bit in it, and it's so painful. Like I stopped coding in assembly at the.
Assembly is one drawback of one strong point of assembly is it's fast. It's the
Yeah.
fastest you
So
can get, and it's the closest you can get to the bare metal of the machine.
exactly.
The downside is it's not portable. If you
Yeah.
compile your if you have assembly on Intel GPU, Intel
Mm-hmm.
CPU, you might not be able to copy the same assembly code and bring it to AMD CPU because
AMD.
they
Yeah.
use different instructions.
Mm. Exactly. The architecture different.
So, what makes Fortran so long-lived?
Mm.
It is high performance. It's designed for number crunching. Originally, it was written with all caps and it stands for formula translation.
Okay.
So it was designed for scientists and engineers to do number crunching on computers. And we are talking about the earliest computers,
Mm-hmm.
IBM, DEC, and all the VAX, all the really stuff. I think they call it mainframe, I think, back in the day.
Yeah.
Computers
Okay.
that take up a whole room,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
things like that. It's pretty easy to learn and use, which
Okay.
is why it's still in use.
Mm.
It is static and strong type.
Strongly typed. Okay.
Yes, statically and strongly typed. So the compiler can generate very efficient code from it.
Binary code. Okay.
And it is natively parallel.
Okay. So that's
So
inbuilt in the back.
it is the only language that is an ISO standardized language that has built-in parallelism in it. It's in the form of this
Advantages.
feature called co-arrays. So you can
Okay.
write, in theory, you can write Fortran code using the co-arrays feature and have it execute on two computers at the same time, five different computers at the same time, 10 different computers at the same time. And that's why Fortran is so much around in
Fast.
supercomputing in HPC,
Mm.
because that's what it is designed to do.
Okay. I mean, like, that's really amazing. One code executing on five computers at the same time.
So yes, that's a way of harnessing the computer's power when one PC is no longer enough to
Mm.
compute. So you have to
Exactly.
distribute the work over the different machines. So say you have a loop of length 100, for a for
Okay.
loop, for instance, from 1 to 100. So you have five different PCs. You will divide them in five. So each PC does 20
20.
iterations. So it's something like that. Parallel programming is fascinating, but it's not
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
think it's considered an advanced course in undergraduate computer science
Yeah.
courses. And not all universities have it. But we have the internet, so you can always
Yeah.
learn it. There is
Oh,
YouTube. You can
yeah.
always search a good tutorial on YouTube.
Exactly.
So Fortran also has a discourse forum, which you can
Mhm.
access with this one. If
Okay.
you right click on it, you can register here and interact with the experts. There are people from Intel here, from NVIDIA, from AMD, from all the different big companies that support Fortran.
Okay.
And you get to interact with them, which is really cool.
Yeah. Building
This,
connections really cool.
yeah, this one is my post, even though it's GCC, but I post it on the Fortran forum because
Okay.
it deals with Fortran.
Yeah.
So I will copy this link in
Yeah.
case you
And
guys want to jump in and chime along.
exactly. So I'll just give it to the chat,
Yes.
and it's done. The chat has the link. I've even highlighted it.
So
So we are
what's
good
so
to go.
special about Fortran? This is a very good article about Michael Metcalf, which is one of
Okay.
the leading book authors. This is like the dictionary of Fortran. It's written by
Okay.
him.
Okay.
Modern Fortran
Okay.
Explained. One of
Explain.
the
Yeah.
writers is him, Michael Metcalf.
Yeah. I can see
So
that.
he knows his stuff, definitely.
Yeah. Exactly.
Here, he gives like the history of Fortran in 7 ages. The origins
Okay.
of
So.
Fortran, see,
Okay.
1953,
Yeah.
formula translation,
Mm.
and then the second age, Fortran
So
66,
66.
Fortran 77, Fortran
The 90.
90, and then Fortran 95,
Mm.
Fortran 2003,
3.
and finally Fortran 2008. This paper
8.
was written in early 2010s, I think. So it
Yeah.
doesn't cover 18 and
18. Yeah.
23.
23. Yeah.
So Fortran is powerful in that it has array syntax built into it.
Okay.
These are all arrays of 10 elements. A has 10 elements, B has 10 elements,
Speed.
C has 10 elements, X has 10 elements.
Okay.
And you can write the quadratic formula, which is you
Minus
know
b
the
plus.
formula, right?
Yeah.
Minus b
Yeah.
plus minus square root
Under
of b
root b
squared minus
square minus
4ac
4ac
divided by 2a.
2a.
You can compute x independently using array notation. So all of them will be computed using SIMD instructions, single instruction multiple data, by the
Okay.
computer, if the compiler is smart enough. So B is an array, A is an array,
Okay.
C is an array. It's natural
Okay.
that X is also an array. All of them have
Array.
the
Yeah.
same length.
Exactly.
And this is much nicer compared to C or C++, for instance,
Yeah. You
where
have to
arrays
iterate
are
over.
a second thought and you have to
Yeah.
use pointers, double
Mm.
pointers, triple pointers, and things like that.
Yeah. That's really painful, like using pointers, because
Yes.
it can go wrong really quickly.
And it can do n dimension arrays relatively
Okay.
easily. I think the limit is 7 dimensions for Fortran up to 95. If I remember correctly, Fortran 2003 or 2008 extended it to 15 dimensions. So you can have a 15-dimensional array.
Um,
I don't know what you want to use it for, but yes, you can do it.
you have it. There you go.
And engineering code, science code normally deals with 3 dimensions
Three
for
dimensional. Yeah.
volume, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Sometimes they add the fourth for time.
Yeah.
So you see where it is useful and why
Mhm.
it still persists in the high performance computing. Even the software that is used to benchmark supercomputers, called the LinPack benchmark, is written in
Okay.
Fortran.
Oh,
I'll just Google and you can see directly. Top
yeah,
500 is the name of the list of the 500 fastest computers in the world. And it
okay.
is It is
The
benchmarked
impact
using the
benchmark.
LinPack benchmark.
Impact benchmark.
Right now, it's a variation of LinPack called HPL, High Performance LinPack, that is able to run
Okay.
on GPUs, but it is written in Fortran. So you can imagine the importance of
Yeah,
Fortran
the
in
power of
HPC.
Fortran. Exactly.
So, what is GCC? Like I
Yeah,
said
that's a good
earlier in
question.
the beginning of the podcast, GCC stands for GNU Compiler Collection. When
Mm.
it was started in the late 80s, you can read about this in the Wikipedia page
Mm.
about GCC. It used to stand for GNU C compiler.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, it was only able to compile C code,
C
but
code.
over the time, it can compile C++,
C++.
Objective C, Fortran,
Fortran.
Ada, Go,
Go.
D.
D.
Right now, there is an ongoing project to add Rust to
Okay.
GCC. So that's I think somebody's
Yeah.
doing a project on that one. Let me see. Somebody else is doing
Mm. For Rust, right?
yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Faisal Abbas is
yeah,
doing
that's for
GCC
Rust.
Rust. So Rust is catching on really fast in the
Mm.
kernel
Industry.
programming,
Yeah.
systems programming world, and
Mm.
it's nice to see Rust getting supported by GCC because it's one of the
Mm.
largest compilers.
Exactly.
So yeah, so there are a total of 6 contributors that were accepted for
Okay.
GCC,
Okay.
and it's arguably one of the hardest
Yeah,
organizations to
organization
get
too.
in.
Yeah,
You have to
exactly.
be an elite coder, I
Yeah,
think.
exactly. Exactly.
You
Because
what
these, the tech stack. Yep. Yep. Go on.
you have to be the best in your field because you don't want to
Exactly.
contribute bad code, buggy code.
Yeah. Mm,
Well,
exactly.
I'm
Because it
honestly
would be
not that
this.
good. I'm still learning compilers. So I had a part-time job finding
Okay.
bugs in the GFortran compiler before.
Okay. Okay.
So that's how I got started into this thing.
Into yeah.
So my job was basically breaking compilers. Now,
Uh,
why don't I learn how to fix it in addition to
uh,
breaking it?
no, that's. I mean, like these organizations, like the GNU Compiler Collection, these are used by millions and billions of people, right?
Yes,
So if anything goes wrong, it can, even cause like human deaths. Like there was a case,
yes.
it's software bug in a X-ray machine or some sort of that machine in medical equipments that
Yeah,
killed
it's
around 20 people.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's dangerous when you use it in say
yeah,
pacemakers or things
yes,
like that,
exactly.
like the heartbeat regulator.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like writing, not bug-free code
Hmm.
is, it's mandatory for software developers at duty. So like
Hmm.
because that's why because like these organizations, these are the most elite organizations, and even the tech stack that they use, that's not normally taught in colleges. You have to go out
Yes,
of the way to learn that.
you have to learn it on your own
Yeah,
usually.
exactly, exactly. So
And
that's why.
the internet is a wonderful resource. For
Mhm,
instance, I
exactly.
found this guide posted on the GCC mailing list.
Mhm.
I will put
Yeah,
this in chat
yeah,
so you guys can
yeah,
come
exactly.
in if you guys are interested in learning how GCC, how a compiler works. Oh, so far we haven't defined what a compiler is. In
Oh
simple
yeah.
terms, a compiler is a program that takes in your source code in a
Mhm.
programming language into executable code that can be run, can be
Machine
executed
readable code.
in a machine readable format,
Yeah.
so it can be computing on the computer.
Mhm.
So it's a crucial piece of software.
Exactly.
Usually, when
Because
you build a new computer, a new architecture, like
mm,
right now, the ARM architecture is rising. Uh,
mm,
for instance, the newer Apple MacBooks all use the Apple Silicon
yeah,
M1 chip, which is based on the
mm,
ARM chip, the ARM architecture. So the first thing when you create an architecture, you have to provide a compiler, so
yeah,
people can
exactly.
start writing software on that platform.
Mm. So
So
like,
yeah,
mhm.
go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I was asking like our viewers, they might be wanting to know like how you initially got into, you said that you had a part-time job breaking compilers. So
Yes.
because to get into job, you must have given some interview or something like that. So, how did you get into this field of, writing compilers initially? Because this is such a unique field that most of the students either hesitate from going into this field because first of all, it's difficult. It's honestly
It's not
difficult,
an easy field. Yes.
yeah, it's not an easy job.
So
It's not like writing Python code that
I
might be
am
easier
fortunate
for you.
enough that my family comes from a like middle income family, so I got exposed early to computers. My dad, he is a electrical engineer by training. He has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. and he studies, I think, telecommunication systems. And once he went, I think at that time he was working for Panasonic, and he got chosen to go for training to Japan. So he went to Japan, and as something he brought back home,
A
he bought a
computer.
used laptop from Japan. I still
Okay.
remember. It's this thick. It's gray. It's a Toshiba Satellite.
Uh,
It doesn't have speakers. It came with Windows 95.
okay. So
So
that's the first
it's really
exposure to
old.
us.
It still
Yeah.
uses floppy disks, not even CD-ROMs yet.
Oh, okay. So it's
It's really
that
old.
early. Yeah.
So
It's,
that's how I started getting interested in computers. And
okay.
by the time I was in primary school and middle school, my favorite pastime was uh, studying computer viruses. How do they
Okay.
hide in the Windows system?
Uh,
Like,
uh,
how do I clean them
Trojans.
from memory?
Yeah. Okay.
So I was teaching myself to become a white hat hacker, and that was before the internet came into Indonesia.
Okay. So.
It was like
Did,
90 something. We had to use a dial-up modem, so whenever
Mhm.
somebody calls to the phone in my home, the internet will cut out, and then if I stay for too long, the phone bill will be extremely
Yeah.
expensive because you pay by the minute. It's a
Mhm.
really interesting time.
So
So
yeah.
I think God blesses me with good enough brains and genes, so I am smart
Mm.
enough to land into University of Indonesia. I had to take the entrance exam, and that's
Mhm.
I recently watched Three Idiots, so that
Okay.
relates so much to me because the Indian
Okay.
education system is
Mm.
Indonesian education system is similar to that as well. You
Okay.
are forced to perform. Your parents sometimes force their wishes on you, and you cannot
Yeah.
resist. Things like
Mhm.
that also happen in Indonesia.
Yep.
So I was lucky enough, or I was fortunate enough to get into Universitas Indonesia, which is like the tier one university in Indonesia.
Okay. Okay.
It's like the one of the best, like IIT, for instance, in India.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I can relate better now how it works.
So I got into the physics program because
Okay.
my high school teacher is really good at teaching physics, and it got me
Okay.
interested. And I
Okay.
have a strong background in math and physics, so
Mhm.
that's probably why I got into the physics
Mhm.
program there. I can show you the website. Uh,
Okay.
Thankfully, they transitioned the website from Indonesian to English, so now everybody can read it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
physics. Let
six.
me
Dot UI dot AC.
Google search it. Oh, there was no www, I guess. So
Okay.
this is my alma mater. This is where I got my bachelor's degree.
Okay.
There, I joined a research group in my either second or third year that
Mm-hmm.
works in computational physics. This is
Okay.
my professor back there, Dr. Muhammad
Oh,
Aziz Majidi. He is still
okay.
active there. He is still I think he is a associate professor by now. He is applying to become full
Okay.
professor soon. I wish him well.
Yeah.
And we model physics phenomena using
Mm-hmm.
computers. We do simulations of materials, of
Okay.
certain properties in matter. And I sort of started a computing cluster for him after attending a workshop uh, that is held by the Indonesian Institute of Sciences.
Mm-hmm.
So he sent me with a couple friends in the same batch to go there and learn. And then back from there, we built our own computer cluster, which has now grown to
Okay.
like 30 computers or something like that.
Okay.
That's the cluster. That's
Yeah.
my
So
friend who also
yeah,
went to
that's
the
the server
training.
rank. Okay.
Yes.
That's a friend. Okay.
So
So
yeah,
you might be anywhere on this website. You might be also
so you
somewhere on this
can
website.
see. No, because I graduated in 2014, so I think they
Okay.
already changed the website a lot
Uh,
from there.
uh, no worries. No worries.
So yeah, I sort of like kickstarted the computer cluster facility in his research
Mm-hmm.
group, and I still keep in
Okay.
touch with him even though we are halfway around the world. There is
Okay.
WhatsApp, so WhatsApp is
Yeah.
big in Indonesia as well. So I
Yeah.
can still
It's pretty
contact them
close.
there, and it's
Uh-huh.
awesome. So
Yeah.
because it's a tier one university, we had to do
Mhm.
a undergraduate project, like a final
Okay.
project. my project was on. Let me open my personal website because it's a long title,
Okay, okay,
and he encouraged me to write it in English, so
okay.
it's accessible to the wider world.
Everybody. Yeah.
So I put my CV on my personal website now,
Okay.
so it's accessible anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my thesis: theoretical study on the effects of substrate on the
Such.
optical conductivity of graphene.
Okay.
So graphene is maybe you have heard of it.
Yeah, I've
It
heard
is
about
a
it.
one layer, one atom thin layer of carbon.
Mm.
It's
Carbon. Yeah.
amazing. It's
Yeah, that
fascinating.
honeycomb
And
structure one,
honeycomb
right?
layer, honeycomb
Yeah,
structure,
yeah.
crystal structure. That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the
Yeah, this
abstract in
in
Indonesian and
this
English.
in yeah.
And basically, I ported his code, which is
Mm-hmm.
already parallel.
Okay.
So his code is parallel using MPI, message parsing interface, which is used
Okay.
for communication between different computers.
Got
I added OpenMP to it, open
Mm-hmm.
multiprocessing for communication inside, for memory sharing inside the single computer, which is good for like
Okay.
shared memory, like multi-core processors.
Okay, so it's able to process faster, basically.
Yes. So
Yeah.
because most of the time, if you compute, for instance, if you use Python, it
Mm-hmm.
usually only runs on one core of your machine, and the rest are
Yeah.
available for you to web browsing or to consult
Mm-hmm.
Stack Overflow, for
Exactly.
instance, or to
Yeah.
consult Google,
Okay.
or
That's
to
the main
try
job.
to find a code that you can copy paste.
Copy
Don't do that
exactly. Yeah.
often. Don't do that
Uh-huh.
often. Try to
Yeah.
understand what's in the code.
Exactly.
So this is my thesis from undergraduate.
Okay.
You can download it there, I think.
Okay.
If not, you can always contact me and I can send you a PDF
Yeah.
copy. And then from there, I graduated in 2014 and I
Mm-hmm.
started looking for scholarship to study abroad.
Okay.
And
So.
particularly, I was looking into studying in the United States because I find the
Mm-hmm.
United States educational system to be interesting.
Yeah, it is.
You
It
get
is
the
actually.
full breadth. So unlike in Europe or Asia, where
Mm-hmm.
when you go for a master's degree, you
Mm-hmm.
already pick a professor and
Mm-hmm.
you start research from day one. You join the professor. In America, in the US, you get into the program. The first 1 or 2 years, you still take classes, so you get a
Okay.
breadth, like a different
Mm-hmm.
parts of physics. At least
Okay.
in the STEM fields. STEM is science,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
technology, engineering, and
Engineering,
mathematics.
mathematics.
The good
Mm-hmm.
part is there are plenty of scholarships in the STEM fields, and
Okay.
I went to University of Tennessee because I was offered an assistantship from the university.
Okay.
As an assistantship is a mechanism in which I work as a teaching assistant or a research assistant for the university. So
Okay.
teaching assistant, at that time I was teaching physics labs.
Okay.
At the same time, I also do my master's degree,
Yeah. So
and
it was
they
working
pay
balance.
me salary. They call it
Mm-hmm.
stipend, so I
Yeah.
can live
That happens in
when I was
uh,
studying.
yeah. Like if you are pursuing masters, I believe it happens in both masters and PhD. You are
Yes,
paid stipend. Working along with college.
UTK
So.
is University of Tennessee Knoxville is a pretty good school for physics and computation
Mm-hmm.
because we have oh, there you are.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
So we have a very vibrant research group, especially in computational
Okay.
physics, because we are
Mm-hmm.
close to Oak Ridge National Lab.
Okay.
It's only 30 minutes from here, from Knoxville to Oak Ridge. And Oak Ridge National Lab, it has a very deep history. It was built during World War II to enrich uranium for the atomic
Okay.
bombs that were dropped on Japan. Even the people who worked there didn't know until the bomb was dropped what it was,
So.
what they were doing, because it's the
Mm-hmm.
Manhattan Project. It's a well, it's
Yeah,
a
the
war
government was
effort.
keeping it secret from the
Yes,
scientists. Yeah,
yes. And
exactly.
right
That
now, the
happens.
building that they used to refine the uranium still exists,
Mm-hmm.
with the Y12
Okay.
facility, and it's still close to the public. You can't just go in there.
Yeah,
You have to
yeah,
have
exactly.
clearance.
Yeah, because there might be radiation or some other stuff.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I work in a field called condensed matter physics, which is the
Okay.
physics of material at the nano level. It's like
Okay.
nanotechnology, but it's more like
Mm-hmm.
how does this happen? Why does this phenomena happen? Why does magnetism happen? why does high temperature superconductivity happen, and why is it the holy grail,
Okay.
for instance.
Okay.
Really fancy stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was with Professor Adolfo Aguiles,
Okay.
and he gave me his code, which is
Mm-hmm.
based on density functional theory. If you don't know,
Okay.
DFT, or the density functional theory, is a popular framework that is used in molecular dynamics, in material
Okay.
science simulations. It's used everywhere,
Okay.
even with
Okay.
chemists. Quantum chemists also use it. So he gave me his time-dependent DFT code, and he asked me to
Okay.
port it to the newest supercomputer at that time,
Okay.
which is
Okay.
Summit at Oak Ridge National Lab.
Mm-hmm. So
So
you
I
did it
applied
in
for
Fortran?
access. It is
Okay.
written in Fortran, yes. It is
Okay.
already parallel with MPI and OpenMP, but the challenge with
Okay.
Summit at ORNL is that 95% of the machine
Hmm.
actually is the computational power is coming from the GPU
Okay. So you
instead of
needed
the CPU.
something.
So we need
Yeah.
to do something to use the GPUs.
Yeah, that could natively run on the GPU.
So you can read this on Wikipedia, Summit
Mm.
Supercomputer. Right now it is let me see the top 500. It's still in the top 10, I think,
Okay.
of the fastest supercomputers in the world. So top500.org coincidentally is edited by Professor Jack Dongara at University of Tennessee, Knoxville. That's why UT is a good school for both physics and computer science, and the
Okay.
intersection between that, which I am in.
Mhm. So
So this is
that's
the
you
newest
want the
list.
best of both worlds.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the newest list, which was just revealed about 2 weeks ago at the
Mhm.
ISC conference in Germany.
Okay.
Number one is again in Oak Ridge National Lab called Frontier. This is a unique
Okay.
and arguably difficult machine to use because it uses AMD CPUs and AMD
Mhm.
GPUs.
Okay.
Little is known about this MI250X GPU.
Yeah.
It's like 10 grand US dollars per piece, or 20 grand, or something crazy like that.
Mm.
Summit is now at number 4.
Okay.
So I got some really, what do you call it? Really valuable experience porting
Okay.
code from CPU only into the
To
CPU plus GPU environment.
GPU. Yeah. Okay.
For that, I use what is called OpenACC. I love the. Can you guys see this line? I love the
Yeah.
tagline.
More
More
science,
science,
less
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 programming.
programming. Okay.
So it works by adding pragmas in the code for C and
Mm.
sentinels, which is specially formatted comments. And you have to toggle a
Okay.
compiler flag, otherwise they will be
Mhm.
ignored.
Okay.
So I was also fortunate to be to participate in a hackathon. What is a
Okay.
hackathon? It's like a boot camp, but
Yeah.
this is a
You
place
have to
where you
build
take
something.
your existing code and you build
Mhm.
something. You
Exactly.
you do
Yeah.
something
You
great
build
to
in a
your code.
deadline.
You have a deadline of like 2 weeks or something,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
you are given a mentor and
Mhm.
a training resource. For
Yeah.
instance, I got into the OLCF GPU hackathon 2020.
Okay.
So hackathons right now are, some are hybrid, but most of them are
Mhm.
virtual because of the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yes.
So I was in this one, the 2020 OLCF GPU
Safe
hackathon,
GPU hack.
bringing my advisor's code, Professor Aguilas' code, to
Mhm.
Summit. So
Okay.
during this
That's the summit.
hackathon,
That's the PC right
this is
there.
the people. Yeah, this is Thomas Papa Theodore, the engineer at
Mhm.
Summit.
Yep.
So
Okay.
we were able to get our code from barely faster than the CPU version to four
Mhm.
times faster. So
That's
the
a really
GPU,
big
the
jump.
one that has GPU, is four times
Mhm.
faster. And then after my
Okay.
thesis defense, we
Mhm.
found another bug, another part where the
Mhm.
it's ping-ponging data between the CPU and GPU,
Okay.
and we
Mhm.
optimized that. Now it is up to 12 times faster compared to CPU only code.
That's a pretty big achievement, I'd say.
It is a achievement
Great
that
achievement.
I am
Yeah.
humbled for.
Oh.
And I think that's the way into my current position as research software
Mhm.
engineer, because I have extensive experience in dealing with
Yeah.
GPU code,
Exactly.
with profiling code, debugging code on this kind of exotic computers,
Yeah, exactly.
the
Such a high
fastest one
level of,
in the planet.
yeah. Mm.
So yeah, it's awesome, and there are plenty of hackathon events. You can just check this GPU hackathons. Sorry, it's now
Okay,
openhackathons.org.
okay, yeah.
I will I'll copy this.
Mm-hmm.
So they do offer bootcamps as well, and they are free.
Okay. Oh, that's nice.
They are free, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to come in with a purpose. You have to write a
Okay.
proposal or something like that.
Yeah. For selection, yeah.
So yeah, it is
Mm-hmm.
selected, and you can't just get in. I just posted in the comments. You can't
Mm-hmm.
just come
Yep,
in
yep.
and expect to learn from GPUs, knowing nothing about GPUs. You have to be interested in GPUs, and you want to do
Yeah.
something good about it. And GPUs
Exactly.
are the secret to AI and ML technology, machine learning
Okay.
and
Yeah.
artificial intelligence.
Because there are a lot
Why
of
they are
this.
so
Yeah.
fast? Because they are
Mm-hmm.
executed on GPUs in the
Yeah.
background.
Exactly.
So yeah, upcoming events,
Mm-hmm.
there are plenty of them around the world,
Yeah.
including one in India, I think. I think I saw that. I forgot which one it is. Maybe it's already passed this year, but
Yeah.
they repeat it every year.
Exactly. Okay. So I mean, such a good resource that you're sharing with our viewers right now.
Yeah, here it is, July 5th, at
Okay. So
NSM India. I cannot read Hindi, so I don't
okay.
know
So
what that reads.
that's CDCC, CDDC, CDAC. So like that's the abbreviation. The full form might be
Hmm.
something I'm not aware
So
about
this
it.
one will cover both HPC, high performance computing, and AI.
Okay.
So you can
Okay.
still apply now.
Oh, that's applications are open kinds.
Yeah,
So
it will be in
even
July
we can
5th to
apply.
7th. I don't think it will open. The application deadline is in 3 weeks
Okay. Oh,
or 2 weeks. So you have
okay.
to, if you are interested, go on.
Hmm.
This is an
Yeah,
opportunity
this is the right time.
you can seize right now.
Yeah,
Let me
exactly.
put it in chat so
The
you guys
chat,
can
yeah,
register
I've
if you are
shared it with.
interested.
Yeah.
What is so
So,
big about GPU computing? Why all this AI
mhm,
stuff? So yeah,
exactly.
you will hear from people that actually computed on
Yeah,
supercomputing facilities,
exactly.
working on molecular dynamics and quantum chemistry, which is used everywhere from
Mm-hmm.
chemistry to even biology and
Okay.
pharmacy, where they use it to perform drug discovery.
Okay. So,
So
like,
yeah,
Willem, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, go on, go on.
go ahead, check out. Is there
Okay.
a question in the chat?
Now, people are just, thanking you for sharing resources.
I see. So
Yeah.
yeah, regarding GCC, I think I've went a lot too far. But my current job is
No problem.
I can show my current profile at Rice. Actually, just asked for this website to go up yesterday, so I
Okay.
now have I'm official now. Before
No,
I was not.
congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. So my job will be to lead the application engagement, basically
Okay.
take the HPC Toolkit profiling suite that is developed
Mm-hmm.
at the Rice University in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Take
Okay.
that code. It's a profiler. What is a profiler? A profiler is a program that runs your code and
Hmm.
puts
Checks the memory
special
usage
markings.
and yeah,
It
exactly.
shows you the memory usage. It shows you it can produce something
CPU
called a
usage,
trace. CPU
yeah,
usage, in this case GPU usage as well.
as well. Oh, okay. Yeah, so there
Yep,
you are. Yeah,
there I am.
stuff. Okay.
So yeah, I have a very wide interest of things, but my best
Mm,
thing is GPUs, Fortran programming
okay.
language, and HPC.
Okay.
Those three.
Okay.
That's my main interests.
Mm-hmm.
Because Fortran was my first programming language, my first
That you have
true
learned.
programming language that I seriously
Okay.
programmed in.
Okay.
I was introduced that in a course, computational physics in undergrad.
Oh,
That was a
okay.
third-year course.
Oh,
We used Fortran and MATLAB at that time.
okay. Yeah, exactly. So, like that brings might bring me on to my next question.
Mhm.
So, you have done so much of amazing work, like the newcomers, they would be baffled by hearing this, like, working with supercomputers and other stuff. So, like, to a completely beginner, how would you say that? How would you start? Yeah, like, how would you start from scratch? Would you, start by
So
learning
let
Fortran?
me tell my journey, how I got
Okay,
into the world of open source software.
yeah, okay,
It all
exactly.
started at the same time around my third year or second year of undergrad. I learned
Mm-hmm.
this thing called Linux. I
Uh,
found out about it and I installed it on my laptop, make it a dual boot so I can switch between Windows
mm-hmm.
and Linux.
Yeah,
And that time it was Ubuntu Linux. I think it's either version 10.04 or 12.04 LTS,
yeah.
one of the really old versions where you
Yeah.
still have the start menu on the top left corner.
Okay, so
It still
that would
uses
be
GNOME 2, I think, before the
okay.
huge GNOME 3 controversy. So
Mhm.
that's how I started to. But again, I was already a tinkerer. Like I already I'm very curious to learn about new
Mhm.
things. And that time, I think it's the heyday of the internet starting to penetrate in Indonesia. I remember
Mhm.
I purchased a modem, a 3G modem that I
Oh,
used from my room in
okay.
University of Indonesia to access the internet for well for various reasons, some of which some of which might be questionable, like
Okay.
downloading movies. I don't recommend
Uh,
doing that
yeah.
anymore, but you don't
Mhm.
have choice if you live in a
Yeah.
developing country. Downloading ebooks, which is not a good
Mhm.
thing to do, but you don't have choice in a developing country. Textbooks
Yeah.
are not cheap.
Yeah. There, some of them are imported also, so they're really costly.
So I started knowing about Linux and realized that serious back-end programmers
Mm.
use Linux because
Exactly.
almost 80-90% of servers in the world
Mm.
run
Yeah, they
Linux.
use Linux. Yeah.
So go ahead to ubuntu.com and
Ubuntu.
start learning about it.
Mm. So 22.4 is the latest one.
Yeah, the latest
Yeah.
one, 2020, it's just
Mm.
released 2 months ago.
Yeah, it was not stable before that. It was released earlier. Also,
It is
LTS
still
was
not
not.
stable.
Yeah, it's
There is
not
a lot
stable.
of controversy with this
Yeah,
to the
exactly. It's
point
going
I
down.
just migrated my friend from Ubuntu to Pop OS, which is derived
Okay,
from
yeah.
Ubuntu. So it shares some of
Mm.
the software, but it's
Mm.
much easier for the
Yeah,
Linux, newbie to
yeah,
Linux.
exactly. Yeah.
So it's so much easier to program in Linux because
Mm.
the tools are built for
Yeah,
developers by
exactly.
developers.
Mm. Unlike Windows.
So unlike Windows, where you have to go to great lengths to install
Mm.
compilers, to install
Yeah.
Visual Studio, to install
Mhm.
well, VS Code comes with Visual Studio, to
Um,
install Python, for instance. Most Linux distributions already comes with Python,
yeah, they already
already
come
comes
with
with
that.
GCC.
Mm.
You just
GCC,
need to
yeah.
add GFortran.
Hmm. And
So
it's a
it's
single
already there.
command line. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
single line instruction. So that you just, you might only copy it if you don't know how the instruction works. You can just copy and paste in the gender, and it will work.
So yeah, I mostly work from the terminal when I connect to
Yeah.
supercomputers. For
Mhm.
instance, if I want to connect to Summit, for instance,
Mhm.
I already put. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the terminal. It is kind of
Or maybe let me
transparent.
connect to one of the other ones. So the power of Linux is customization. You can do whatever you want.
Mm.
I
Exactly.
customize it to be semi-transparent, so I can cheat
Mm.
by looking at website and copy pasting code when I was
Uh,
looking. So
uh,
it's kind of cheating. So, but it works for programmers. If you don't
yeah.
remember anything, Google is your friend.
Google.
So
Yes, exactly. You
exactly,
cannot remember everything. Yeah, that's the
you
point.
cannot remember everything. There is the
Everything.
capacity
Yeah.
of the human brain.
Mm.
So I'm typing in my OTP right now. Oh, maybe it's not a good time to do a live demo of accessing a supercomputer right now.
Not a problem.
Oh, I remember. This is how I access the
It's the
supercomputer.
supercomputer.
They even give me a hardware key.
Okay, so you have to plug it
This
in
is
and yeah.
no, it comes with numbers on it, and that's the OTP.
Okay.
So it's a very secure computing system, and you don't want to
Mm.
be caught mining Bitcoin here.
Uh,
definitely you will get banned, and
yeah,
FBI agent will probably knock on your door. But yeah, I'm connected
FBI
to
or
Summit.
Finland. Okay.
Yeah, host name F, I think, gives you the FQDN, a fully qualified domain name,
So
ornl.gov.
that's
I'm not
okay.
messing around. When I
Yeah,
say I'm working with supercomputers, I mean it. I'm not gonna
yeah,
do anything because it's
mm,
they monitor your traffic
yeah, I got it.
because they want to know
So
whether you are doing something serious or you are messing around or you are
yeah,
trying to download porn, for instance, or you are hosting torrents there.
mm,
So yeah,
so that's something you should know on a supercomputer, and it's
no,
a
I
responsibility, to handle a
it's your
supercomputer.
responsibility. Yes,
Yeah,
to handle
exactly.
your security so you don't get hacked, not to click
Exactly.
spammy links, things like that. It's
Exactly.
it's
It's a
when
big
you are
responsibility.
dealing with serious
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, exactly. That's gonna affect millions, so that's something really important. Exactly. So like,
So yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
go on. Yeah, I was asking like, to begin, like, so if you want to get into field of GPUs and working with supercomputers, so I think Fortran is a good choice for beginners to learn. The first step, you should be
If you
curious.
are already familiar with C and C++, those two
Hmm.
languages are also supported widely by GPU programming models.
Okay, okay.
So
So,
the four main languages of
hmm,
supercomputing are Fortran, C, C++,
hmm,
and
C++.
Python.
Okay,
Python is rising because
okay.
people are starting to run AI models, training them on
Hmm.
supercomputers.
Yeah.
Inferencing can be
And
done
Python.
on a local PC, but
Hmm.
training, that's the hard part.
Yeah, that's the more hardest part. That is to working
That's
on
the
that.
one that takes the most resources.
Yeah, that's take the most
And
resources
that's when you
because.
need supercomputers. When you use
Hmm.
AI, for instance, for fighting COVID,
Yeah, exactly.
let me show you something cool.
Okay, go ahead.
OLCF COVID research. So during the COVID pandemic, the big supercomputers in the US and around the world, they banded together and gave free access to people researching about COVID-19.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Supercomputing exposes potential pathways for
So pathways for
inhibiting the
you.
virus.
Okay. I mean, that's a really huge project.
And this is
It is
recent
all
from January.
okay. 25
So
Jan.
that's what you use supercomputers for
Mhm.
the good of mankind.
Yeah, that's the purpose that they should be used for.
They use molecular dynamics
Mhm.
to simulate the spike protein molecular structure for the virus
So, yeah,
and three other viruses:
noise going
the
on.
SARS virus, the MERS virus, and I
And
don't know what
it's
this one
you.
is.
Yeah.
So that's the actual protein structure.
Mhm.
If you want to see
Yeah,
a
somebody might
visualization
be
in
interested
3D.
in. Okay.
So yeah, this is what the all the cool stuff you do with cool toys, with the cool facilities. That is
Hmm.
when you are doing
Yeah,
this, the
in the
good for
field. Yeah.
mankind in the field.
Yep. So building stuff with that.
So how do you
So
start with an open source website? An
yeah.
open source project. First,
Yep.
find what you are interested in. Find your passion.
Okay. Okay.
That's the main takeaway message of
Yeah.
Three Idiots. Find your passion, and
Passion is exactly.
if you
And
work
then work on that.
your passion, that's
Mm.
when you enjoy doing things, and
Exactly.
you you do it from your own volition, not because you are
Mm.
forced to do it.
Exactly.
So I want to encourage to
New
find something
newcomers.
that
Yep.
fits you, that you
Mm-hmm.
like. And for
Mm-hmm.
instance, I am pretty active in the spec package manager, which is a package manager. A package manager is a software that
Mm, yeah.
downloads and installs software for Linux.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
designed from the ground up for supercomputers, and it's written
Mm-hmm.
in Python.
Okay.
So yeah, the developers are
So.
really active on Slack. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the software that is used to deploy
Mm-hmm.
installations, software installations, compilers, libraries,
Mm-hmm.
toolkits into the supercomputers in the US.
Okay. Okay.
Spec.io. I will
Mm.
paste this into the. So I am
Start.
pretty involved in this project.
Mm.
My contribution is not much, but I recently
Everything
got
counts.
succeeded. Everything comes in the natural time. I just got
Mm.
admitted to be a maintainer, so I can
Okay.
review and put comments on pull requests.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you go to Insight, and
Insights, yep.
then how do I search for myself?
Contributors.
Contributor.
If there are a lot of contributors, then
This
you're,
is a huge project. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not in the top contributors.
okay. So like it goes till you can scroll down to see if you're there, or you can just control
No,
F and
I'm
search
not.
for it.
I'm not big enough in here. But I
Okay.
can
Okay.
say I can look up issues that I created, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Author. Cool. Yep.
I have
So
one
that
issue
there
open.
you are. Yeah. Okay.
Pull
And pull
request that
request.
I created.
Yeah. So yeah, it's one is open
Let
right
me
now.
clear the is open. This is a
It's
big
merged.
one. So
Mm.
yeah, that's what I did. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not too much, but
Nah, it's like
it's honest
it's
work.
honest work. Yeah. Exactly. It ain't much, but it's honest work.
Let me change this into just me and
Mm.
including the one that is closed.
Okay.
So yeah,
So yeah, installation issue in FPM.
FPM is the Fortran package manager.
Yeah, like
So
NPM for,
like
yeah,
npm for
for
Node.js.
Java. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So yeah, start with something that you know and something that
Mm-hmm.
you enjoy, and be open to learning new things.
Yeah.
That's my two
So
cents.
yeah, that's the way you approach anything. You might not get into what he's doing right now, or you
Hmm.
might not get into what anybody's doing right now. You might do something really different, but you
Yeah,
should passionate about it, and you should, if you are passionate about it, you should work hard to study in
yeah,
that field, and then
yeah.
you will surely excel in that field, that outside.
So that's my contribution graph for this
Yeah.
year. That's my contribution graph for last year.
Mhm.
That's 2020. I think I joined in 2019.
19.
I joined GitHub in 2019, I think.
So,
So yeah, it comes naturally once you are committed to something. It
mhm.
comes naturally. You get more invested into it,
Mhm.
and
Exactly.
well, it just comes naturally.
Yeah. So I mean, there's no course for contributing to open source or any organization. There's no course
No,
for that.
there
You
is
might learn
nobody
skills.
forcing you. You learn
Yeah.
a lot of
No.
important skills, a lot of skills
Mm.
that you might not even know is very marketable
Mm.
in the
Exactly.
marketplace.
Mm. So that's the way to go, because there is no course. You learn skills and then you apply them, because those are the real
Yeah,
world projects that are solving
yeah.
real problems rather than
Solve real
just building
problems.
mock apps. Yeah.
Yes,
Exactly. Yeah.
the stuff they teach you in college or in grad
Yeah.
school, they are
Mm.
small problems that has been already solved by people
Solve. Yeah.
before,
Exactly.
and you are just
Exactly.
trying to reproduce that to learn.
Reproduce that problem. Mm.
But once you already know enough, it's time to step
Mm.
into the real world and solve real
Mm.
problems. And
Problems.
that's where
Exactly.
the open source movement is beautiful. You
Mm.
get to
Yeah.
see what the problems are, and you
Mm.
feel good after you contribute to it
Mm.
because you contribute
Yeah.
to the common
Exactly.
good.
Hmm. Because everything counts, and when you contribute to open source, you're also appreciated by the people. It might not
Yeah,
be exactly in form of the money that you get, but the
yeah.
learning experience and the exposure that you get,
The
I
exposure
believe
and the
that's
satisfaction,
priceless. Yeah,
that's priceless.
satisfaction, exactly. Yeah, that's right. And the pride you get of your work that you're putting in,
Yeah,
and people are
exactly.
benefiting from it. Yeah.
Well,
So.
I'm not so proud of my work because I know a lot of it is buggy code or not efficient enough because
Okay.
I am a scientist by heart. Scientists
Uh-huh.
are usually bad coders because
Uh,
they don't take computer science courses, and I plan to fix that by later on in about tentatively in about 2 years. I will
like.
go back into school for
Mhm.
PhD in computer science, but that's still
Mhm.
tentative. Hopefully everything goes
Mhm.
through. Hopefully.
Nah, it will go through, and you can use linters as well. If you're writing code in Fortran, there might be some
Yeah.
linters in Fortran, because like linters really help.
So
Like.
there is a Fortran quick start compiler for Windows
Uh,
that is recently released a couple months ago. If you
mhm,
want to learn more about Fortran language,
mhm, mhm.
you can start using this Fortran quick start by a friend, Lawrence Cadward. I know him from
Okay.
the Fortran forums.
Okay.
He is in the UK and
Mhm.
he does aerospace. So you get to
Okay.
meet a lot of cool people working
Yeah.
with
Exactly.
Fortran.
Mhm.
So I will copy the releases
Yep.
So you can just download this. It's an exe file for Windows,
Yeah, executable.
and you can just install it, and it will download everything for you. It will install everything, and you're set to start learning Fortran. And
Exactly. So
let me paste that in the chat.
I'll just copy that.
If you are at Linux, let me illustrate that with a Docker container. So I'm also starting to learn Docker because it's useful.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me pull Ubuntu.
You already have it. You might, you might have it already.
I might have it, but let's just put the newest one.
Okay.
So let me run Docker, run IT Ubuntu Jammy. Jammy is the code word for the newest release, the newest LTS release 2204.
Mm-hmm.
So I am in Ubuntu now, and Ubuntu 22, even though I'm running
Yeah.
20. That's the power of
Yeah,
Docker.
yeah, that's it.
So
Containerization.
what you need to do in a fresh Ubuntu install to get Fortran is simply sudo apt update to
So,
update the list of software for the apt package manager. I will skip the sudo because you are already root in Docker.
yeah, in the root user, yeah.
And then sudo
Upgrade.
apt install
Okay.
GFortran. That's it.
Yeah,
So
you're
if
set
you
to
are
go.
on your own laptop after installing Ubuntu, put sudo on it. If not, because I'm
In your
having
container,
root
you're in
access,
Docker container. Yep.
then that's it.
Yeah, you will install that. Yep.
It's
It is.
downloading now. Hopefully this doesn't kill my connection.
Uh, um, you can just, it's okay. Yeah, it can be.
Installing now.
Yep, unpacking it.
And you have GFortran. Let's write, let's install Nano Editor. That's one of the more
Mm-hmm.
user-friendly editors out there.
Vim is also good. I like.
And I will write hello world in Fortran. So you start a Fortran program with program and the name of the program. For instance,
Okay.
hello.
Hello. Okay.
You can write a hello world in 3 lines in Fortran, even 1 line. Print star. Star means standard output.
Okay.
And then the string you want to write.
Okay. Hello world.
Hello world.
There you
And
go.
then end program.
Okay.
Or even just end, that's enough.
Okay.
Usually when I teach people to use Fortran, I will add implicit none, because Fortran is such an old language. It has really weird rules about variable naming. Implicit none
Okay.
makes sure that you declare every
Implicitly.
variable
Yeah. Mhm.
for in a type, but it's not
Mhm.
really required. So
Okay.
I'll just do the bare minimum, save that hello.f90, and use the Fortran to compile.
Mm.
Give it the -o to provide the name of the output. Let's say it's hello.exe, and then run
Okay.
hello.exe.
Yeah. So compile it anytime. Exactly. You get hello world.
There you go, hello world.
Exactly. That's
That's
it.
the simple program in Fortran. That's hello world in
Mm-hmm.
Fortran.
Mm-hmm.
And Fortran is unlike other. I will copy paste this code into the chat so you can just put it into.
Yep.
Oh, it
Answer
mangles
them.
the
Yeah, that's
enter,
the
uh,
indentation. Yep.
the indentation.
Yeah, line breaks and stuff. No worries. Yeah, I think they can find hello world code for.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
they're
And
able to find.
Fortran is easy to pick up. It's like chess, easy to learn but hard to master.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just saw a question. What are other
Yeah.
compilers
Yeah. Yeah.
organizations where we can contribute?
Yeah.
The huge
Exactly.
ones are GCC and LLVM.
Yeah.
Those are the huge ones. But you can also contribute directly to programming languages. For
Like
instance,
Julia comes
Python
in.
or
Yep.
Julia. So if we go to GSoC,
GSoC.
GSoC, we go to GSoC, and then you go to organizations, browse all organizations, and then there is programming languages directly. You can pick that
Yeah.
immediately. There is Python, there is Swift, there is Jenkins, there is Homebrew, There is
There's
LLVM.
text.
There is
There's
Haskell.
textile.
There is GCC,
Mm-hmm.
NetBSD, Ruby, new
Mm-hmm.
Octave, which is a free version of MATLAB. There is Julia.
Okay.
There is Git even,
Great.
if you are an elite Git user.
Yeah.
There is Eclipse, which I
Mm.
think is the one that runs Java
Yeah.
editors.
Yeah. Eclipse ID. It does
Yeah,
a lot more things than that. Just
yeah.
ID. Yep.
So yeah, you can try applying to Eclipse if you are into Java.
Yeah. Yeah.
Personally, I don't like Java too much. Even Fortran has its own here.
Okay.
And I think there are like 4 or 5 people accepted. Some of them are really good projects. See,
Okay. So.
one build or
Yeah.
embed online playground for Fortran Lang.
Mm.
So you can try Fortran code directly. So I
Yeah.
wish this guy Ashirwat really
Yeah.
well, that he
Mm.
does it really well. So I can
Mm.
use this to show off Fortran code to my friends.
Yeah. Exactly.
Port Fortran Lang to Sphinx from
Mm.
Jekyll, which is a different web
Mm.
technology.
Yeah.
Fortran, it's a research compiler
Mm.
that is built from the ground up for Fortran 2018.
Okay.
I know the lead author, Andrei Chertik. He
Okay.
was at Los Alamos National Lab, but he recently quit and
Mm.
joined another company, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, there are 2 people working on Fortran compiler. There is another question. What are the coursework which are
Yeah. Coursework
fundamentals to understand
fundamentals.
compilers?
Compiler.
I am not a good person to ask that because my background is
Yeah.
physics
It
and
is.
I'm still
Yeah.
learning the world of compiler
Scientist.
technology. But
Mm.
my de facto thesis advisor recommended this book. It's colloquially called the Dragon Book. I am still
Okay.
afraid to open it because it's the book for compilers.
With the.
I
Okay.
asked the same question actually during the GSoC developer
Mm-hmm.
summit, which
Mm-hmm.
was a couple days ago,
Yeah.
and
On
somebody
third.
recommended this book called Building Interpreters. I
Okay.
already ordered it from Amazon, and I think it will
Mm-hmm.
arrive next week.
Okay.
Interpreters, crafting interpreters.
Okay.
Yeah, by Robert Nistrom.
Mm. Yeah, I've seen that book. It's in our college library.
Yes, so
Yeah.
there you go. If you see it in the library, then
Yeah.
pick it up, read
It's
it, and
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
looking forward to read this because compiler
Mm.
technology is fixing compilers. Like the inner workings of the compiler is still black magic to me
Mm.
right now, honestly,
Okay.
especially the optimizer part,
Okay.
the part
Yeah,
that takes your
the
machine
branch
code,
optimization
the
that it
branch
does. Yeah.
optimization,
Mm.
the loop optimization. So
Mhm.
that's the big thing in Fortran. Fortran compilers have to be very optimized because you have to
Okay.
beat C and C++.
Yeah. Mm. There's a huge yeah, the pressure is huge. I
Yes.
can understand that. So, like, Willem, let's get some more questions from the chat. Like, if they want
Yes.
to ask anything, because this was such a informative session. I'd say that, like, I also learned a lot. How things work and how you should proceed towards things. And let's just wait for some questions from the chat if they have anything to ask from us. So chat, go on. And in the meantime, I've mentioned all the links to the socials of William down in the description below. Go give him a follow. He does amazing work, and he has been doing he has been doing for a long time. And you go support his work. And I think your the posts that you do on LinkedIn that are also quite insightful, and people can learn from that your work that you do in the organizations on GitHub, GitLab, and
So
any of that.
I don't know if Fortran, sorry, if learning. Okay, there is a new question. If I could learn
Yeah,
any new professional skill, what would
skill.
it
What
be?
would it be? Okay.
That's a tough question and a very excellent one. But I would learn web programming,
Web development.
web development. So
Okay.
I know some HTML, but not HTML5, the old version of HTML.
Oh, HTML4, I think so.
HTML4 or
Yeah.
earlier. I can code
3.
my own HTML, like write
Okay.
it from scratch, but it will result in ugly, really ugly website.
Yeah.
And I still refer to W3 schools a lot
Oh, that's
for
amazing. Yeah.
that's an amazing reference for web
Yeah.
development.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually I have 2 to learn. The first one,
Okay.
maybe 3. I want to
Mhm.
learn web development. I want to learn cloud
Mhm.
computing
Okay. Yeah,
because
that's
it's
I'm
big.
into cloud. Yeah, it's really huge
And the
right now.
last one is machine learning,
Okay.
data
So those are
science.
the Okay, so those are the top three in your bucket list right now. Yeah.
That's the top three in my bucket list. Yes.
And if I had to answer this question, my would be like I'm learning cloud computing right now, so it's onto my bucket list right now. And one more thing, these are things in cloud computing only that I like to learn, being good at proficient at being orchestration techniques, container orchestration like Kubernetes and other stuff. Like I'm learning those things right now, so that would be the new professional skill I'd like to learn. Thanks for that question, Akshara.
Thanks for that really good question. And
Yeah.
I want to show you something if
Oh yeah,
that
go
I
on.
almost forgot. So one of a good friend of mine and a mentor
Mhm.
to me, Brad Richardson, he is everything
Okay.
functional at YouTube. He has his own
Okay.
YouTube channel. He just
Okay.
published a course in LinkedIn Learning about Fortran.
Okay. Okay.
Let me try to locate that now, if I can find it. Brad Richardson, full profile. Yep, found it. Let me share my
Yeah. I'll just
screen
add it to the stream.
again. Share screen. This one.
Yeah. So I'll just add it to the stream. Yeah.
I'll
So there
copy
it
this
is.
link address. Let's try the expanded version. Yep, there you go.
Mm. Yeah.
So he is an excellent teacher, and he currently
Mm-hmm.
teaches at I forgot which university, but he is
Mm-hmm.
teaching a course there. So he is certified a guru,
Yeah. Certified instructor. Yeah.
certified instructor.
Yeah. So I'll give that link to the chat right now.
So if you happen to get a LinkedIn Learning free trial or you have it through school, enroll
Yeah.
in
We
this
have it
one
through
if
school.
you want to learn about Fortran because he's
Mm.
one of the best people in the field. I actually
Okay.
isolated one Fortran bug with him over a Zoom session. He's that
Okay.
good.
That's really good. I mean, to find such informative courses, that's really good. And
Yeah,
I share it. Yeah, because most of the colleges they give LinkedIn Learning for free, so this would be a great resource, like a V2 resource. It would be great for the newcomers
yeah.
that would like to learn Fortran. Yeah. So, any more questions, chat? Let's see if there are any more questions. And I believe we answered a lot of questions today, like how to contribute and how to start, and how to start in such a domain. Okay, so
Hmm.
you're using Ubuntu right now. Nice, that's
Yes,
nice.
so I mostly run Ubuntu. This laptop is still dual boot Windows and Ubuntu, but
Yeah,
most of the
okay.
time I need Ubuntu. I'm already so used to it. I only use
Yeah,
Windows for Adobe Acrobat
gaming.
and
Okay.
gaming. Oh, actually,
Yeah,
gaming now works. A lot of games that I play actually work on
yeah,
Linux,
and yeah,
thanks
Linux.
to
Yep.
Wine
Okay.
and Proton project by Steam.
Okay. Okay.
It's awesome.
So I think they should work. Because Nvidia, Nvidia pushes Linux a lot because most of its source code is not available online. Like my also, if I
They just opened the NVIDIA kernel drivers code. They just
okay,
open source it recently.
okay.
That's a huge move because
Yeah,
there is
that's a
an
huge move.
infamous moment by Linus Torvalds himself, the
Yeah,
creator of Linux,
yeah,
saying
yeah.
"F you"
I
to
seen that.
NVIDIA.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
FU Nvidia and that. Yeah, that.
Last question: what do you hope to gain from this mentoring session?
Yep, yep, yep.
Honestly, it's about networking. So
Okay.
knowing people in the community, knowing people that
Mm-hmm.
actually implement that are important in the community,
Mm-hmm.
it's very valuable connection. They can help you and they are willing to help you. They are because
Yeah,
well, they
exactly.
are mentors after all.
Mm-hmm.
So they like to teach people and they
Mm-hmm.
teach people the right stuff that most other people don't know or just copy paste or just memorize. These are
Mm-hmm.
the actual
Exactly.
peoples that implement
Mm-hmm.
the compiler. They know the inner
Exactly.
workings of the compiler. They are geniuses in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
I hope to gain the more insight into compiler technology so I can
Mm-hmm.
perform my work better because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the exascale computing project codes, the
Mm-hmm.
ECP project,
Okay.
they use really low level optimizations
Mm-hmm.
to get
So yeah.
to get all the juice from the hardware, to press all the
Mm-hmm.
juice so you get the most of the
Yeah.
supercomputer.
The most optimized way. Yep.
Yeah, so I
Exactly.
have to
Exactly.
learn like I want to learn compiler technology because it's an important field in the field of
Mm-hmm.
supercomputing, but not a lot of people want to get in there because it's a hard
Yeah.
field. It's not an
Yeah.
easy field.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you have to be expert in, I'd say, you have to know something about hardware as well and software as well, and you have to
Yes,
meet in the middle ground to work on compiler technology.
you have to bridge
Exactly.
the bridge
Yeah.
between the hardware
Gap.
and the software,
Yeah.
the gap between
Yeah.
that.
Exactly.
So I'm still learning, and that's even though I just turned 30 this year, I still have that young attitude, that curious
Yeah,
attitude
exactly.
to learning. I think learning is
Yeah,
a lifelong process.
yeah,
We never
exactly.
stop learning. You learn
Exactly.
everything. You learn something new every day.
Hmm.
And I will
So,
end with a famous Indonesian proverb. Malu bertanya,
okay,
sesat di jalan. Malu is
okay.
ashamed. Bertanya is
Hmm.
asking. If you are ashamed to
Hmm.
ask, sesat
Hmm.
means you are astray or you are lost.
Okay,
Di jalan means in the road. So
okay.
malu bertanya, sesat di jalan is you when you don't ask questions, you are lost.
Hmm. Exactly.
So ask
So you.
questions to people. Of course,
Hmm.
ask smart questions.
Hmm.
You have to do some research on it first before asking.
Yeah,
And when you are completely
exactly.
stuck, Google doesn't help you, then you ask the right people.
Yeah, exactly. That should
So,
be the approach that anybody should follow.
yeah,
Yeah, because that shows that you have put in efforts before, just directly copying your
yes,
error. And like
yes.
people do it on Stack Overflow, they just copy and paste, like, please help me. So that's a
Yeah, I don't
community
want
that's,
Stack Overflow to be like Chegg because people cheat on
yeah,
Chegg. They just copy
yeah,
paste their
exactly. Hmm.
assignments and their tests.
Assignments, yeah. Hmm.
No, Stack Overflow is not meant to be used like that.
Yeah,
Stack Overflow is
exactly.
meant to be used for actual questions that
Learning,
you have
yeah.
for learning.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, that's my last. If anybody wants to ask last questions, I'm open to
Hmm.
receive. Otherwise,
Hmm.
we should end this
Yeah,
because we are past the
exactly.
time already. It's already one
Nah,
hour,
yeah.
16 minutes, I think.
Yeah, it's not a problem. Like, I don't want like time flew away. Like, it was such a wonderful experience talking to you, and such an insightful session. Like the things you mentioned, and I am sure that a lot of people are going to learn from it, because GCC is such a huge organization, and the people involved in it are in the top of the industry right now. And you will working with such people that will teach you a lot of things, and that will make you expert in that domain slowly and slowly. So, like, if there are any more questions, like, let's wait for a few seconds,
I was
because
impressed with
yeah.
the first meeting with my mentor Tobias
Mm,
Bernes. We
okay,
went right into the code directly. We were
okay.
debugging on the fly
Oh,
to
that's
try
nice.
to get my first bug
PR.
report
Yeah.
to GCC
Mhm.
and try to submit a patch. So,
Okay.
one final word of warning: there is no
Mhm.
official GitHub for GCC. They
Yeah.
host it
Okay.
in their own infrastructure and they are still
Mm.
modernizing. So,
Okay.
you cannot, if you put in a pull request on an issue in GitHub, it will not be seen by the developers. You have to
Mhm.
approach them by the mailing list and IRC.
Yeah. It's a bit tedious,
That's
but you'll get the hold
It's
of it.
tedious, but
Yeah.
well, they are still modernizing. So, and it's a
Mhm.
huge project with a
Project.
huge
Yeah.
legacy.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
some people are hard to change, and it's hard
Mhm.
to transfer, say, 5 million lines of
Yeah.
code
Lines of code.
from one server to
Exactly.
another.
To
It's such a
another. Yeah.
huge project.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
they are still
And it's
taking their
not
time.
on somebody's machine locally. It's distributed across the cloud, and you have to gather everything, then migrate it. So it's a huge process, and it would take a lot of time. Like, some projects might migrate onto GitHub soon, but a lot of code will stay on the cloud, and you have to it would be scattered, so that but it would be, yeah, slowly and slowly
Even
it
the
would get on the
transition to
track.
Git,
Yeah,
only happened 2 years
yeah,
ago,
SCM
if
it
I
was
remember
using,
correctly.
yeah, SCM, yeah,
SVN was what they were
yeah,
using before.
exactly, exactly,
So
exactly.
it's challenging to work with GCC, but it's a high risk, high return project. So I
Hmm.
think I will learn a lot in this project if,
Hmm.
well, I'm still consulting with the GSoC admins whether my
Okay.
current immigration status in the US prevents me from doing
Hmm.
this. But in
Hmm.
case I have to withdraw from GSoC, I
Hmm.
want this session to be like a pointer,
Yeah, yeah,
unintended,
exactly.
a
Hmm.
pointer to people who want to pick up my project because I cannot do
Hmm.
it due to
Hmm.
restrictions, for
Hmm.
instance, because it's just not the right time. Even though I was surprised, well, I got
Yeah,
in. I didn't know the GSoC acceptance rate is only 20%. So
yeah.
I am humbled by that. And now
We wish you all the best. Yeah,
I
like,
don't
you would
know.
get into GSoC.
Yeah,
Yeah, we wish
thank you,
wish you all the very best, that everything
thank
would
you.
go in the right direction. Yep. So, guys, with that, we would be concluding this session. And thank you, William. Thank you for doing this with us. And it has been really an insightful session. And it's our pleasure, inviting you, and that you were able to, give such a insightful and meaningful talk to the audience. And we thank you for that. Anything you would like to say on the ending note?
Just keep learning.
Yeah,
Don't give up.
exactly. Exactly. So, guys, with that, we'll conclude this session. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, William, and thank you, everybody. Take care. Peace.